You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's the most authoritative news analysis platform, and here on Newsfile we put Ghana first. My guest Abdul Malik Kubako, Professor Warren Sport Jampo, and Professor Stephen Kukwasare, who just left us because he came on to discuss the matter that he's very passionate about. Now, YK Yeboah sends in a message, and it says that I have to disagree with you, Kekubako, on the notion that Domelevo's action was rather needless. You can't possibly support the change of locks of the office and blame the Auditor General for his reaction. We must deal with the roots of the problem, not the symptoms. The Auditor General is doing his work. If the government does what is right, they should not find any problem with this Auditor General. This Auditor General is loved by civil society, and we must support him if we want the rot around the corridors of political power in Ghana uprooted. This is from YK Yeboah, of the leader of the CPG, YK Ansa Yeboah.
You said the same thing to me.
Okay, I know you guys are friends. Okay, if he calls me kid, bro, I need to know how old he is. All right, now, Kakra says that, but the submissions about the man taking his keys home. Imagine if, in fact, he had taken his keys home. What exactly is this law that says you cannot take your key home when you are on leave? Where are the documents from which we are taking inspiration from about one keeping his keys or taking them with him? Na Mahami says, why inform him after changing the locks to his office? Couldn't you inform him before doing that? Hashtag Newsfile. And these are messages from Twitter. SK Koranche at RAS1 says, who is Abdul Malik Kubako, and why are we taking his account of what happened at the office of the Auditor General? Why are we doing this to ourselves as a country? Hashtag Newsfile. You tweet at Ifok Kofi. You say, Mr. Bako, your man says we need a little bit of consistency. Again, my goodness, the trivial and infantile decision to change the locks without informing the Auditor General is unpardonable. It could have saved all this drama. The board should have had a little bit of fineness. This is equally petty. Could be objective about this matter. General, hashtag General at Skutu. You say the Auditor General trusts no one but himself. He might as well want to go and pursue his farming dream. Hashtag Newsfile. Check at 1K right. I honestly don't understand why Domelevo kept in office till today. Is kept in office till today. Someone who was appointed 8 days before the NDC left office. Drama. Hashtag Newsfile. Akwesi Apreko at AGI is 60 says, and what has been achieved actually? You have to do what is expected of you as an Auditor General with integrity and professionalism, irrespective of who appointed you. Hashtag Newsfile. Frimpong Benny at Frimpong 30. Right, hashtag Newsfile. The audit office operates from Monday to Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So at what time and day did Domelevo go to the office to pick whatever documents that the office was closed? Why choose a day or time? The office was closed to go there. Okay, so clearly you don't appreciate what has gone on. Hashtag General at Skuku. The AG is needlessly petty and full of senseless drama. Hashtag Newsfile. Dr. Charles Rekubrobe at iTarzan says, surely the questioning of accumulated leave does not need the Supreme Court to decide and cannot be allowed to either to linger for so long. The time is decided. That's why the time is decided. It has no value or effect. Okay, by the time it is decided, it has no value or effect. That's what you wanted to type. Hashtag Newsfile, hashtag Auditor General at Joy 99.7 FM. Ephraim, at Ephraim Robert, you say, don't you think Ghana presidency is breaching Article 187, Clause 7A, which states that the Auditor General shall not be subject to the direction, control of any other person or authority. On what authority was the Auditor General asked to proceed on leave? Hashtag Newsfile. Okay, there are those of you who are retweeting others, so allow others to have a little say. I'll just take two more messages and we proceed. Nana Hesse Ojiri says, so why can't Professor Jampo take the President's answer as the ultimate national position on the matter of the CSO's disagreement, with the focus on the persons whose identity he has not been able to disclose? And oh, did the CSO see anything wrong with the contempt conviction of the Auditor General? Why are they yet to speak about it? Okay, so I get this. This is rather from Yao. And I think I missed the Nana Hesse. Okay, Nana Hesse Ojiri's message says, the allocation by previous government to audit service was 9 million. Under President Akufo-Addo, the allocation has gone up by 100%. That is 19 million. Domelevo himself said this current Akufo-Addo administration has resourced and was showering praises for the government. Why the sudden narration that government never treated Domelevo well? Let's call a spade and not a big spoon. Nana Hesse Ojiri sent in that one. I suppose we can now move on. Manche Bruce in Takrade says that, in my opinion, a public office is not a job. It is an opportunity to do something for the public. Daniel Domelevo is hardworking, but enjoys playing to the gallery. He should not allow his emotions to override his judgment. What was he seeking to achieve with the video? His personalization of his office isn't exemplary at all. Okay, I suppose you may say the same of the special prosecutor. All right. Now, let's get to, there's a video in town. You have seen it. I can't watch it, so I have not watched it. And when on Joy they are playing it, I just hope it's not what they are going to play, so I just shut my eyes. Let's listen and look at this, and then come to look at the issue briefly.
Make an appropriate contribution also to the Agreement Foundation to express my own revulsion at the awful tragic act that has occurred in this region. It is vital, as the regional minister said, that it should not happen again, and we should all work together to ensure that never again do such acts disfigure the face of our nation. I hope that the quick response of the police will lead to the rapid administration of justice in this unfortunate matter.
Right. So you saw just a gist of something, and once they used the whip on her, just about once or so, we cut it, and that's for a good reason. For those of you who have the heart to watch and have seen the full footage, I don't know. So the police initially appeared to have been very laxed or not paid attention at all in that region in Kafaga. And then there began to be a campaign. The women's grouping in the country, various leaders, President Rawlings, and President Kufuor later spoke about it also. You had Nana Jinopokwa-Adjumani, the vice presidential candidate, also speaking about it. This should never happen in this country again. So the police, some pressure came upon them. The IGP sent a special team to the region, the Savannah region. And then now we are told that a number of people have been arrested. 13 persons are supposed to be on the run. Some 5 people are supposed to have been arrested. A chief also involved. And then suddenly I read a story I still can't understand, that the people were taken to court, and then somehow 2 years jail sentence was passed on somebody, and then something else happened. Okay, so start with Professor Jampo on this.
Well, thank you, Samson. This morning I almost took the decision not to be here because I woke up and my mother was telling me that she slipped and fell in the bathroom when she was bathing. And, you know, the old people, they sit when they are bathing, so she said she was sitting on a certain plastic chair, and while sitting she fell. And my heart, I was so worried, I was so disturbed and all that. And so,
and how old is your mom?
My mom is 75.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I was
This one is 90.
Yeah. I was very worried that, I mean, she fell. How will she be feeling and all that? Now, you look at a 90-year-old woman and you want to be slapping her and you want to be whipping her, and you do so to force her life out of her.
She's a queer dente.
And you give a justification or explanation that you are probably undergoing a certain form of religious experience, and so you could not remember whatever you were doing. I think there's two fundamental issues here in a developing country. If you read Michael P. Todaro, he talks about the factors or the attributes or features of every developing country. 2 of them. You see, massive public ignorance. The other one is the high belief in superstition. Okay, you can see that clearly, thinking that somebody is...
So let me make a quick correction. I'm in a hurry. I've read a lot of stories, you know, rigged up a lot of stuff to read about the ongoing situation. And I am thankful also to Angela Jamna-Boaje. She's fed me with a lot of information. And out of one case in which a witch doctor was arrested, that is in the case where that doctor is witch doctor is reported to have pleaded guilty and was sentenced into prison for 2 years. You know, I brought that in as part of this.
Okay.
This one, nobody has been sentenced yet.
Well, so I think we should fundamentally be looking at the height of public ignorance in the body politic, and then also be thinking about how we have extolled superstitious beliefs and practice. Because I kept wondering that the people who were standing there and looking on whilst this was going on, what was running through their minds? I mean, why were they standing there? And I am more angry with those who looked on than even those who are perpetuating some of these things. And I think that I'm happy that some arrests have been made. But like I said, as a nation, we cannot develop if you have some segment of the population or a high chunk of the population being ignorant and also believing in needless superstition. And it is important that we do something about it. How do we curtail public ignorance? How do we socialize people into believing that some of these things are not true, they are just superstitious, and that we must find ways of scaling, over and above them? I think it's important that regimes, governments, the establishments, policymakers, local authorities and district assemblies, it's important that they get socialized about some of these things, and then also try to scale down the education. That it is not about witchcraft, it's not about a witch doctor, it's not about anything, it's about human rights and the need to protect the invaluability, the invaluability of rights. It is very important, and I'm saying that until we do more to deal or to tackle public ignorance and the belief in needless superstition, some of these things may go. I mean, when my former student, Major Mahama, was murdered like that, I thought the whole nation saw it, and in my view, because of how we all spoke against it, it was something that was never going to repeat itself. Or you want to say that that part of Ghana is so far from town that they didn't hear about Major Mahama's gruesome murder, and so some people want to do that. I think the excuse and explanation given by the lady that she herself cannot understand what she did, and it was some spirit that entered her, I don't think it constitutes an enough mitigation, in any court of competent jurisdiction. Something must be done to set a certain example for all to want to follow. But what for me is crucial is how we can work as a nation to tackle massive public ignorance, and then also the needless belief in superstition. I've always said that, you see, in this fight against COVID-19, one of the reasons why it doesn't seem that we are winning is the prevalence of public ignorance. Some people do not understand why they should comply with any of the protocols. And some people also feel, I went to my hometown going to buy fish among the fishmongers, telling them that please put your mask. No. Paying for MPP from paying for it's a disease for the top echelons of the political order, and you can see massive public ignorance. And so until we work hard as a nation to tackle public ignorance, all efforts that are initiated by government for development will be stalled, and people would be seen to be rather against those efforts and all that. So let us tackle public ignorance, and let us socialize people about certain beliefs and certain practices. Socialize people against certain beliefs and certain practices that are inimical to human rights and that are inimical to our growth as a nation. And I think if we do that, then some of these things will not recur. Otherwise, you tackle it on ad hoc basis, they keep recurring, and then human rights are violated unnecessarily. Okay.
So you mentioned the Major Mahama situation, which one would have thought was used to do a lot of public education against mob injustice. I still insist we should call it mob injustice, not mob justice. In the midst of all of that, will you be surprised to learn that what just happened, it is because that has come into the media. That's why you are talking. Otherwise, it is going on.
Yeah, I want to believe. I believe it may be going on. And still, it is because people are ignorant and people have a certain belief in some needless superstition. And, well, it is sad, to accept or to admit that fact that some of these things may even be going on, even now that we are talking. The only difference is that you don't have a media house there to unearth or to expose them and all that. And so we should not only be thinking, or we shouldn't just be happy that some arrests have been effected and some people are going to be dealt with, but in and around the area, and also in all the hinterlands of the country where some of these things, go on, it should be a duty, our duty as a people, as a nation, people who are well lettered and people who are well socialized into acceptable societal norms and order. Let us go there to try to socialize people about, against some of these things, that we cannot have a nation whose people would always be taking laws into their own hands to be killing people simply because they feel they are witches or they are wizards. And I keep saying, so are men also not wizards? And when a man is found to be a wizard, do you have he being treated like that? When a man is a wizard, he's powerful. But when a woman is a witch, she must be brutalized or killed. And I think it is something that is absolutely unacceptable. It's just a feature, one of the features of a developing country. We believe in needless superstitions and all that. But we must, whilst we try as a people, whilst government try hard to put food on the table and to develop people, we must also not be oblivious of some of these things that would work hard against some of the interventions that governments try to put in place. If there is belief in needless superstitions, if there is massive public ignorance, irrespective of whatever government does, you would have some of these people influenced by these superstitions to work against whatever government is doing to develop them. And the earlier we think about these things and take action, the better for us as a people.
Okay. And I discovered that you were qualifying anytime you mention superstition, needless superstition. That's to suggest that there's some superstition you
superstition is superstition. It doesn't, if it doesn't exist, it doesn't exist. If it is not true, it is not true. Okay. But some of them are a bit tolerable. But some like these, it's needless, and I cannot see myself,
Right. So as you have become aware of the number of suspects have come up to 6 who are supposed to be in custody. I suppose by now some of them would have been granted bail. According to the police, all the suspects admitted that the priestess had invited, the priestess in Kafaba, that's the Savannah region, had invited, the incidents, so to speak. They are Haruna Anes, who is 34, Isifa Tanko, who is 35, Shaibu Montala, who is 29, Suleiman Ali, who is 35, and Isifa Zakibo, who is 32. So these guys just murdered their grandma. Now, Koku, like Professor Jampo said, we know the lady, the priestess, now suggesting that she was in some trance. Is it Cornelius being spoken about to go to, Paul being asked to go to Cornelius's house? She was in some trance, and that she didn't know what was going on. And Prof is talking about mitigation. Now, the only situation where the law does not see an individual capable of committing any criminal offense is when you are under 12 years. If you are not under 12 years, you are deemed by criminal law to know the consequences of what you do, and therefore you'll be punished for it. What do you say?
Well, due process must take place. It's an act of criminality. They've murdered an innocent 90-year-old woman. It's an act of crime. They must be punished. I'm happy to hear that the police have made some arrests. I'm sure they are proceeding with investigations. They'll build a docket and go to the appropriate forum, which is the court of law. Yes, so that should be done, and we should see it being done. and also publicized as part and parcel of creating a culture of deterrence.
Okay.
However, I agree with Prof. That on its own will not be the lasting cure because of the nature of the society in which we live, the beliefs of people, the cultural, customary, and all sorts of things.
A society where there are witches' camps.
Exactly.
Where only old women are dumped in there.
Yes. Even though I appreciate that itself is a bit, it's like attempting to help those in distress. That's the paradox of it. In the sense that, you couldn't leave them alone. They will be subjected to this kind of ordeal by their own relatives or people around them. There's a certain protective shield there. It's not good enough. We should be looking at a situation where we eliminate those things. If they are old people, they are disabled, they can't. There are homes, if you go outside, there are homes for old people.
Right.
Huh? They are catered well for, well organized, well catered for. So the fact that the person is old, maybe is not in distress, families have even deserted him or her, we should be able to build a society, a welfareist type of society where we can accommodate these people and let them, live well. So it goes beyond the criminal justice prescription, even though we cannot ignore it and we cannot relegate it because this is a law-governed society. But we have to look to the larger picture, the public education, socio-economic transformation. You see, there's also an underlying economic matter there. Poverty is all part of these things. And then the kind of customs and beliefs. We've tried on some levels. Female, is it genital mutilation? We've passed some legislation, chococy. We've done some of those things. Not in terms of a very comprehensive solution. But as a nation, we'll be moving towards widows. You know how we treat some of our widows. So all these things are part and parcel of the cultural makeup. And it takes a hell of a time and space to resolve these things. Whilst we are moving towards that, and we should be doing more towards in that direction, let the criminal justice system also do the appropriate things, and let's publicize them to help build the culture of deterrence.
So
I haven't watched. This is the first time I've been able to see it.
I've even tried not to watch up to this point. So I was going to ask you, on a larger scale and in a concerted effort, what can we do beyond leaving this kind of education and intervention to, NGOs like the ARC Foundation? There's a Center Institute who are doing some of these kind of jobs. And it looks like the state itself, in a very organized manner, is not doing much about it. We are told that this priestess, who is known as Fatima, actually she hails from the Upper West region and is based in Yeji, in the Bon East region, and has done, so she's on TV talking with the handcuffs, and that she has done worse things in a number of communities in the Savannah region before this viral video. We are told that the soothsayer seen in the video, before moving into Kafaba, her presence in the community made residents jittery and worried, since anyone could fall victim to her witchcraft exposure. The place of abode of Fatima in all the communities became a beehive of activities as sick people, barren women, mad and mentally retarded people, and so on, visited her for soothsaying on reasons for their own conditions. Members of the community Fatima visited are tight-lipped over her activities, So she's been doing this, and she gets invited when situations come and check this for us, and she pronounces, I have my suspicion, having read the body of information that I have been supplied, that this goes on in many other places in the country.
I agree with you. It's a combination of poverty, illiteracy, ignorance, superstition, all put together.
Yes.
You know, and it's not, these are not things that you can easily, you know, do away with just by, you know, a sweep of a hand. You can't. It's deep rooted. It's entrenched. It's a reflection of the level of development in terms of our society.
Right.
And it has to be we have to take it serious. You just mentioned the part of the role of the state.
Right.
Perhaps the state has not prioritized, you know, that area in terms of how to handle it. I know Shraj, if you read the Human Rights Commission,
right,
some of their reports over the years, they've been handling some of these things, you know, and publishing them, but to what effect? Maybe for research students like us.
We have known over the period that they have done work at the witches' camp.
Exactly.
You know, but we know that the place still exists.
It still exists.
People are going through dehumanized, and Justice Bedu did a documentary for Joy News. Very young people's lives are being wasted. Little girls are asked to go there and provide for their grandparents who live there. So, no school for them. And they virtually inherit those women.
Yes. It's part of, it's become like a cultural thing. We are living with it, you know. But I think the state, for that matter, governments that come and go, haven't done enough prioritization relative to that area. We've built some institutions, Shraj is an example, but we haven't even equipped them that well. So they handle some of these things and they leave it just on their records for us to go and research into. You know? Yes, that's not sufficient. You know? That's all. I wouldn't sit here and say I have an answer as to how to deal with it. I can just do a theoretical appreciation of it. But there are people out there with the appropriate competence and institutional capacity to, you know, combine their efforts for us to try and do something about this.
Okay.
You know?
Is there anything you want to say?
No, just wanted...
Brian Boabings asked me a very interesting question. Have you ever seen a rich man's mother tagged a witch before? The backwardness must stop immediately. Let's hustle so that when God blesses our mothers with old age for them to enjoy the fruits of their labor, they wouldn't be called a witch and lynched. Samuel Brian Boabing. Sensing that. Interesting, isn't it?
I think it's revealing, and no rich man's mother would be called a witch. And so if you are poor, you would necessarily, you are poor and aged, you would necessarily become a witch. It's something that is unacceptable. But I wanted to add to what Kweku just said, that maybe the Shraj itself has not done much. I remember I did some studies when I was doing my master's about the Shraj, and they would recount some of these things that they have done, visiting witch camps and trying to deal with people whose rights have been abused and all that. But they keep telling you that we don't have money to sustain that exercise, and sometimes we are unable to even go to court to deal with people who have perpetrated some of these rights abuses and all that. And so we must also treat it as a priority, as a people, as a nation, being careful and deliberately putting in place measures to deal with some of these things that, in my view, are as a result of public ignorance and all that. Let us get rid of, try to minimize ignorance. We cannot do so completely, but let's try to minimize it so that people, I mean, if Brian Boabing's text, you know, gets is used as an educational tool campaign to areas where some of these things happen, people may be knowledgeable. People may be they will become awake to some of the realities, that how come that the mothers of rich people are always not branded as witches, and only the aged and the poor. And so I think we must also bring this to the fore and sort of prioritize it.
But the two of you agree that one of the ways to end this and end it well is to ensure that there is publicity of the processes that go on. Eventually, when the court gives its judgment or convicts the people, it should be publicized. The whole community should get to know. They have actually charged them for murder instead of the trial by ordeal. If they had charged them with trial by ordeal, they are looking to a maximum of 10 years.
Okay.
But having charged them with murder, they are looking for death.
Okay.
And that's the best way.
Interesting.
Well,
And those who are just observing, they too are in trouble.
They
for
should be.
up to 3 years.
Yeah, they should be, even, I don't know, but I think they should be. I mean, standing there, I just want to assume, without just admitting, that the lady who was doing this was truly undergoing some religious trance experience, so she didn't know what she was doing. But how about those of you who were standing there? Were they also experiencing that same religious experience? I don't think so. So right. The point is that something drastic must be done, and when this is done, whatever is done must be made public enough.
Great.
Okay, Major Mahama's case, we did a whole lot of noise about it. Afterwards, I think there was one monument that was erected somewhere. I think 2 or 1.
Yeah.
I think one in the was there one in Dentra Boise or something? But I've seen one at the airport hills, you know.
Right. Okay. Okay. So we understand that as President Akufo-Addo went there, the regional municipal or the authorities there have assured that they are actually going to also erect a foundation in her memory and so on and so forth. But the most important is to punish the perpetrators of this senseless conduct. We'll take a break. When we return, what magic does Jane bring to the John ticket for the 2020 elections?